I think we touched a little bit earlier on, there are historically some myths that exist in the allocator community around, maybe not in the allocator community, in the community of people who might be looking at a seed deal, who think that if they were to take a seed deal, they may get looked at differently by the allocation community. Is that something that you think of as a real concern, or would it go the other way and say that, on the net, the existence of a seed deal tends to, do far more good than any harm, real or imagined? Understanding we're all talking our book here.
Yeah, I can jump in there because I'm a recovering endowment investor, and I think there's a stigma in the endowment world that they wouldn't back people who've taken seeds. And the fact is, it's just not true. So I think there's some endowment, there's probably three camps of endowment investors out there, and let's just pick on them for a second. The first are people who are pretty anti-seeding, and they think there's some sort of conflict or potential misalignment. And I think that's a little bit short-sighted, to be fair. And the reality is, many firms in our industry take a seeder in some form. It may not just look and feel like a professional seeder, but they're giving up points to an advisory board. They're hiring a third-party marketer or a placement agent and sharing a cut of revenue that way. If they want to institutionalize day one, you have to have a great COO and a great IR that comes with sharing equity in your business. So the reality is, most people in our industry do take a seed in some way. Just the question is, what do you get for it? And so I think the first camp of the endowment investor that thinks, there's a misalignment, they're missing the bigger picture that I would argue more than half their portfolio took a seed or gave up economics in some way. There's another tranche of the endowment world who's actually very supportive of it because they realize that it de-risks the business very early for them and allows them to back an early manager where they see the greatest potential for returns. There's a lot of studies that emerging managers outperform established ones. Yes, there's a lot of bias in that it doesn't account for all the failures. And that's where a group like Cesar's team or ours can come in and effectively de-risk it early on. And then I think there's a bunch of people in the middle that don't quite understand our industry. They don't fully get the model. They still think we're a GP Stakes Dial or Peters Hill. We're buying established managers. So I think there's a lot of education that still needs to occur in that middle tranche to say, how do groups like ours help de-risk the business, not just for the founder, but also eliminate the career risk for the asset owner. I think there's a lot of education that still needs to go on out there.
Yeah, although I think, to be fair, on the other side of it, sometimes, when we're working with people, there could be seating arrangements that are more restrictive, right? And sort of don't want the manager doing X or Y. So you just have to have those conversations up front about what you're comfortable with or not. And, maybe what the seeder is suggesting in the end makes sense and will work, and maybe not, right? So it's all a matter of getting on the same page early, right?
And I would add a couple anecdotes to that, which are very common. We get questions from our founders of, isn't there preferential treatment? We're actually trying to eliminate that. So making sure we are on the same side of the table, not just as the founder, but aligned with the institutional asset owner. Things like transparency, particularly in the public markets portfolio. We don't take holdings transparency. We think it's a misalignment. We're happy to take it, but then you have to offer it to all LPs. Liquidity. We're actually locking up for 3 years, where a lot of the other LPs are actually taking quarterly or monthly liquidity. So there's a lot of mechanisms, terms, things that Gary's team helps out on in those arrangements that actually create stronger alignment than you would typically see out there.